Hey, Timmy Two-Step. This September, The Hill is getting a fresh new vibe. Kind Goods is opening its doors. That's right, step into a modern, welcoming dispensary filled with top-quality cannabis, unbeatable deals, and a team that's here to make you feel right at home. From daily specials to premium brands, you'll find something for every occasion. Make Kind Goods on the Hill your go-to dispensary. Open this month. Go celebrate. Go say hi. Go see what they have to offer. Maybe grab some Fruit Fetty Krispies while you're there. Just a suggestion. You'll enjoy it.
Welcome to Greenway Audio Magazine. I am Tim, and I am with Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, Tim.
We're at MJ Unpacked.
We got a lot of fucking cameras today, and we don't normally do this in person, so I am going to be all over the place.
Fingers crossed. Okay, we're here with Boston and Montana Dickerson. Boys, thank you for joining us. Boston, co-founder and CEO of Show Me Organics. Montana, co-founder and chief science officer. Two legends in the Missouri industry. I can't tell you guys how much your names come up on this podcast. I would say every week, every other week. Like, seriously, major props to like what you guys have done here. I mean, even last week we talked to George Jage and he was just like, that family is unbelievable. This is so great. We talked about the Take Your Own Medicine campaign. It was fantastic. So Boston, let's start with you. How are things going at Show Me Organics? I mean, you guys are killing it here in Missouri, but I'm sure you have some new products you want to talk about. And then eventually maybe we could get into expanding into Kentucky.
Yeah. First and foremost, thanks, Brandon, Tim, for having
Of course.
me on. And always appreciate the intro. I think it goes to show when you put your head down and work for 5 years and do something that you're passionate about, how much you can accomplish when you look back. Because that's one of the things we don't really get to take a step back and look at the big picture all the time. So hearing that perspective is good. And it fuels our fire and really keeps us going.
Good.
So yeah, as far as Show Me Organic right now in Missouri, we're working on expanding retail. I think that's the name of the game right now with the consolidation that's going on here in the state.
Yeah.
We recently opened our 6th dispensary.
Okay.
Farmington, Missouri.
Yes.
It's currently still a Key Cannabis.
Okay.
We partnered with those guys and acquired that store, and it'll be transitioning to a Blue Sage in the next couple of months.
Heck
so that's what's top of the docket right now.
Yes.
As Ron Burgundy said, that escalated quickly.
It did. Holy cow. It really did.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some new products. Let's talk about, I mean, coming out and just like recent products that have hit the market on the Show Me side.
Yeah, well, I'll pass it to Montana on this one. Montana runs all of our production, knows everything in and out that's going on, and a lot of exciting projects that we're working on.
Let's do it.
Montana, aside from being the most handsome ginger on the podcast currently, what is your official title other than handsome ginger?
No, thanks, Brandon. Yeah, my title is Chief Science Officer. And as Chief Science Officer, I oversee a lot of the technical details throughout the facility, from cultivation through the lab, all the way through post-harvest and through packaging and fulfillment. So new products definitely falls under my scope of work. And we're looking at releasing about a half dozen new products between now and Q2 of next year.
Jeez. So is this new genetics or is it new products or mixture?
A little bit of both. Yeah. About a half dozen new products and also about a dozen new genetics in that time period too. So a couple of those genetics we've bred and phenohunted ourselves. And for me personally, that's a big passion project. It's great to have great starting genetic material with clone. But what really gets us excited is finding those new genetics, those new flavors that maybe don't exist yet. Planting 100 seeds and hoping one turns out to be the one, right? So over this past 36 months, 3 years, we've crossed a handful of our best genetics with one another. Just trying to bring out some new terps there. And
luckily, and thank you for this, I had the opportunity to tour the facility a few years ago. Unbelievable. I mean, it is literally the coolest one I had been to. I mean, the whole staff was happy, which is cool to see. The facility was unbelievable. I mean, full PPE, having to step on those pads in between each room, like super clean. It was outstanding. So, I mean, it really is a pinnacle of an example of what a facility should look like in Missouri and in the US. So kudos on that.
Yeah.
I assume that is a sense of pride every time you walk in there.
The whole team from top down takes a huge sense of ownership, sense of pride in what they do there. And, you know, with a scientific background, working in laboratories for a long time, we akin that more to a laboratory than an agricultural grow facility, and try to keep it as clean as possible in there. One of the things that Montana didn't mention is how long it takes to create these new products. So that's been our bread and butter since we started in the industry with just a manufacturing lab. You know, we were able to bring in a hot strain on the market, process it, make it into good products, and get it out to dispensaries within a month and a half. Well, these new compliance regulations have really stifled that innovation a bit. It's a little longer of a lead on all of these new products, from the packaging approval to the approval of the actual ingredients that the state goes into. So a lot of these genetics and projects that we have coming out in the next 6 months, we've been working on for 3 years, like you said. So it takes a long time.
One of the things that you guys have done as a company, from the Show Me Organics perspective, is the same thing that you guys have done with Vivid and Missouri's Own and Buoyant Bob. And it's that you guys continue to create and reinvent like what exactly your brand means. When Show Me Organics was originally, Blue Sage Dispensary, which was 2 locations, and Vivid. And, Vivid came out early on, I think was considered one of the top, maybe 1 or 2 concentrate companies in the state. And really that was the whole identity, was like, we make really good concentrates. And then we see Missouri's Own roll out, we see the gummies come out and things like that. And then you guys started to do some partnerships with some cultivators on pre-rolls and things like that. But then you guys go out and, as you're growing Blue Sage, you guys go out and acquire a cultivation license. And so then all of a sudden, you immediately make a huge impact with cultivation. And within a year, you guys have a cultivar that's being voted as one of the best. And then within 2 years, it's literally the top single selling cultivar in the nation, right? From the time that you guys acquire that. And then on the Buoyant Bob side, you guys have redefined both concentrate and flower as far as like production scale and what it means to have like a bargain brand, so to say, because the quality is still there. It's just at a lower price point, and it's not, some of the most sought after things that you guys produce. So it seems like you keep moving the goalpost on yourselves, essentially. Like, we're not going to stay here and stay stagnant and just rest at being the best at this one thing. So what drives, I'm sure for you it's innovation, but what drives that process, and how do you balance each other out as you're pushing, you're pushing for innovation and new products, you're pushing for expansion and new brands, and then Tony's just trying to control both of you, right? Like keep you, somewhat jarred up and focused.
Yeah. So I think you've got to listen to the consumer. At the end of the day, any industry, any business you're in, you've really got to be boots on the ground at events like MJ Unpacked and MoCan to see what these consumers want. And I liken the cannabis industry a bit to my local ice cream shop. I went to Mizzou. I'm a Columbia, Missouri guy. So when I'd go down to Sparky's, if you guys have ever been to the ice cream shop there, I always get my staple butter pecan. I'm always getting a scoop of butter pecan, but they make new flavors week over week. I'm always going to try a sample or 2 or 3 or 4, and I'll probably get a scoop of something else if I really like it. but I always go back to that staple butter pecan. I think cannabis shoppers shop a lot of the same way as that. They always want their Florida Kush. They'll go pick up their Florida Kush or their Alien Mints. But if we have a cherry sorbet or a maple nectar, something new from a trusted brand that they see out there, they want to try it. So that is the crystal ball that's so tough on the production side. You know, when we cut clones, we're looking at 7 to 9 months before those are hitting the consumer's hands. So having that crystal ball in production to know how much of this strain do we grow versus this strain versus Vivid versus Buoyant Bob is really where the mad scientist comes in, super, super helpful.
So Montana, what is your background? I mean, like, you studied, I'm sure, all of this stuff. Like, let's get into it.
Yeah. I went to Mizzou, studied biochem and chemical engineering. Shortly after that, I was working there locally in Columbia at the research reactor there. And about that time, it was mid 2018. Our family decided that we were going to explore opportunities for applying for licenses. So at the end of 2018, I moved out to Colorado to try and marry the academic experience with the practical experience of the industry in Colorado as it was developing. And meanwhile, during that time, Boston was working on his MBA there in Columbia. So he was really getting in the ground, putting everything together for the applications and quarterbacking that. And I was kind of learning the trade out in Colorado. So
I would love to be a part of that family meeting that you guys had, like that first one where you guys sat down as a family and were like, hey, let's change the whole industry in Missouri. We have everyone here that can do every facet of this. I mean, your parents came from the pharmaceutical industry, so they had an idea of like how this could go. I mean, your business background, I mean, it was almost like the stars aligned for this to happen right out of the gate. I mean, is that how it felt?
at the time, no.
You're right.
Looking back, though, the picture is a little bit more clear. Yeah, definitely. Feels like we kind of trained our whole lives for this now, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like ninjas.
Yeah.
You train your whole life, and then all of a sudden you just figure out like, oh, it's all muscle memory now. One of the things that you guys you kind of touched on as far as the slowing of innovation because of DCR, and some of the regulations and stuff. But one of the other things that you guys have encountered probably as much or more than anybody else is the fact that you guys have had to change your product lineup a few times because you've done so much innovation so quickly that a few times the rules caught up to you post production, and you had really popular products that are no longer in the space and for the foreseeable future probably will not be in the space, both on the positive side of developing these and them being really well liked. We're talking about Coffee Ethic, we're talking about Red Hot Riplets,
R.I.P. Riplets.
super rest in peace Rips, but super well liked, awarded, talked about, highly regarded products that for really very little reason they're taken off the market afterwards. What's the positive of that experience, and how do you kind of recover from having something that everybody loves and wants, and then you just can't produce it anymore?
Yeah. For better or for worse, we're in an industry where we're trailblazing. People are people, just like the regulators, just like me and you, just like all these other businesses out here. And people are figuring things out as they go. So nothing's ever going to be perfect, but that's part of the reason that we're drawn to this industry, is to be able to hopefully shape the way that this looks in 5, 10, 20 years. And it's tough when they come back with what we call the Red Hot Riplet rule internally, which basically discontinued our Red Hot Riplets into the future. It's tough to come back from a blow like that, but thankfully DCR did work with us to see, how much packaging's on hand, how much of this have you ordered, what's the runway on getting this out the door, and then you won't be able to make it after that. So the stakeholders have to work together across the whole industry. And like I said, nothing's quite perfect, but Missouri's done a good job overall, I believe.
I'm a big believer in the idea of the nose knows. If it smells good, it's going to taste good. It's going to make you feel better whenever you're talking about cannabis flower. And one of my favorite ways to shop, and the best way to shop whenever you're talking about the nose knows, is deli style. Blue Sage has one of the biggest selections of deli-style flower in the state, with great deals on bulk flower. They also have the best selection on Blue Sage house brands like Vivid, Buoyant Bob, and Missouri's Own. So come see your buds in Belton, Carthage, Lebanon, St. Louis, and Valley Park, and check out the full menu of deli-style flower and more at cannabisdeli.com.
We've seen a lot of issues with DCR kind of in the transition from medical to adult use. We've had several people talk about the fact that Missouri is one of the few markets where you saw go from medical to adult use and things got more restrictive. I don't think that's common. I don't think it's something that most people expected whenever we were passing adult use. But to your point, we've also seen that, partnership between DCR and many of the operators kind of ride the roller coaster for the last couple of years, and it seems like everybody's kind of settling back into their respective places and having a little more open dialogue and stuff. How does that affect your desire for more innovation now? I guess more so to you. You guys have brought out super cool things in the past, and then they had to go away. It's a little more intrinsic process and intensive. I know you guys basically had to open up an entire another section of employment to be able to submit applications and stuff for the pre-approval process at one point. How much does that hamper your desire to, be right at the verge and right at the line of, what is next and what might get pulled back for whatever reason?
Yeah, I'll pass it to Montana next, but I think to us it makes us want to push the boundaries and see what we can accomplish under the new rules. That's kind of always been our mantra: is we don't make the rules, we just learn the rules very quickly and know how to play by them and try to be the best at them. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, it can definitely be disheartening to spend a lot of time in R&D to get a new product to market and then have the rug pulled out from under you, so to speak. But a little bit like Boston said, I mean, the result is great, but we really love the plant and making new products, whether it be breeding new strains, new formulations, or just new novel products for methods of consumption. So we enjoy being in the lab and tinkering, and have a really good team that likes to do the same. So that helps us stay ahead and keep coming out with new things regardless of what happens in the rules.
One of my favorite things about you guys, on top of you as humans and your products, is your push for innovation. I mean, I know on your side for sure, but then on the branding and marketing side, we've had Tony Brainchild, Bill Meyer many times. Actually, it's on the camera here. Let me make sure I get him in the shot. Those two, Tony and John Kreisberg. I mean, just constantly pushing the envelope, finding new ways to get the brands out there, to tweak the marketing, and I've told this to you guys many times, and Tony. I mean, I remember calling you guys, I don't know, 5 years ago, and just being like, hey guys, I have this thing called Green Frame and it's a 3D thing. And you guys were like, yeah, let's do it. And because I was I want to push the boundaries, I want to see if this will work. And you guys were like, yeah, let's do it. And so you guys really pushed my creative side into this industry. And it's a big reason why I'm sitting here. So I have a lot to thanks for you guys and your company for sure. But I just absolutely loved even the Buoyant Bob, how you guys worked that with the music side. And it's just constant innovation. And I know a lot of it has to do with what's inside Tony's head, but getting it to work and getting it out in front of people, that takes a whole company. So that is innovation is easily one of the things that I think about when I think about Show Me Organics. So well done for sure on that.
That and the closet full of Clio awards you guys must have right now.
That too.
Yeah, no, we're excited about it. And like Montana said, we're not going to stop pushing bounds. We're tinkers by nature. We like being in the lab. We like knowing that there's new, upcoming, better things out there in cannabis that we can learn, whether that be, products, strains, etc. And we've got a lot of new, cool things that you guys will like coming here by the end of the year.
You guys are brothers. You all know that. I assume other people know that as well. But generally, we see a lot of sibling rivalry and things like that. So just to make sure there's no sibling rivalry today, Boston, what's your favorite thing about Montana and the thing that you admire most about him?
My favorite thing about Montana is how much he cares about the people he's in a room with. You can see it throughout the whole facility when he's walking through. The team lights up when they see him, whether it be packaging, cultivation, fulfillment. He knows everybody's name, knows usually what their family situation's like, what shifts they work. He really cares about people. That's my favorite thing.
And Montana, what is your favorite thing about you?
Yeah,
What's your favorite thing about Boston?
It's been really cool being able to work with your brother. A lot of people don't have that kind of experience. But my favorite thing about working with Boston is just the high level strategy meets very high emotional intelligence, and those two things together make him a great leader for our company and really drive the industry forward. And our skill sets really complement each other in that respect. So
I think you guys are very much like a cannabis yin and yang. We talk a lot of times about cannabis is this weird industry where you can walk into a room and there can be a guy that's, been CEO of a Fortune 500 company. There can be a person that graduated magna cum laude from Harvard, and there can be a dude that never past fourth grade, and he's actually the one in charge of everything because he's been growing for 35 plus years, and he has all this experience and knowledge and stuff like that. And whenever you guys came out, you were these young guns, a lot of backstory wasn't really known at the time and stuff like that. And then you guys make this explosive impact. And I think it very much, to your point, is because you guys together are the perfect synergy of what, drives a lot of cannabis companies. And most companies, it takes a long time for you to find the right people to fit into those places and for the puzzle pieces to align. And you guys just happen to, be related and start right off the bat with, the perfect synergy of creation and production and ideation and execution. And I think that's been one of the things that's driven your success. I also think it's been the thing that allows you guys to be more creative and allow more autonomy with people like Tony and some of your cultivation staff and things like that, where you guys are so locked in, you allow people to be good at what they're good at without micromanaging it into the ground, if that makes sense.
So, it sounds like a utopia the way you're describing it. It hasn't always been super easy, the road to get to where we are with the team that we have right now. And even, our working relationship as brothers. I think Montana and I got pretty close when we were in college. He was on the back end of his stretch at Mizzou when I just got there. So lived in a duplex not too far down. And that's when we, I think, really got close. But after college, when we started working together, I think this is true for not just brothers, but anybody who you've got a high level business partnership with, and you're trying to strategize. Is one of the things, the best things that we do together, I think, is assume positive intent, especially when you're with a spouse or a close relationship, brother or sister. It's easy to get chippy back and forth at one another. Right? When somebody brings something up and you're like, yeah, I'm doing that, or I already did that. And we had to get past that, 6-month, 8-month bound where it's like, yeah, we're both running our respective divisions in the company, but when we have a conversation, we both have to assume that we want the best thing for the company, whether that comes out as good or bad. That's how you need to take it. And I think that helped our relationship a lot and helped us get through a lot of these barriers that hold a lot of companies, business partners down.
That is so smart. I mean, just the awareness of being able to see that is very smart, especially when it comes to business. Does that sound familiar with you and me, Brandon?
It sounds like I need to focus more on doing that, because I do tend to be a little snippy at times.
No, we
and,
both
and
we both
you know,
do. But yeah, that is so smart. Honestly,
the emotional intelligence factor of both having and getting to work with family on an all day, everyday adventure. I've been there before. I got divorced because of it. So, I don't know if you guys are allowed to get divorced as brothers. Like, you're already emancipated, you're adults. So I don't know how that would work out, but it sounds like you guys found the better path on that. Montana, I feel like Boston keeps taking the microphone away from you. And I feel like he talks a lot just in general because he's always got interesting and dynamic things to say. And he kind of swings in like Tim, just being all, handsome and cool and stuff like that. And I feel like people really underestimate just how much of a wild man and how crazy you are. I've seen it. I've heard the stories, so what I'd like for you to do, we'll shut all the cameras off and everything. We definitely won't record this part.
Definitely.
But give us some of the dirt on, what's the thing that really got you into cannabis outside of the plant science and things like that? What was the thing that clicked in your brain where you're like, this is more than just like weed. It's what I want to do with my life.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer starting with cannabis. I started smoking cannabis when I was 23. And when you don't have a reference point, when you've never tried it, you don't know what to expect. So you compare it to another vice or something similar. And at that time for me, it was alcohol, right? After smoking cannabis 3 or 4 times, I realized it clearly was nothing like alcohol and really nothing like this had been described to me my whole life. And it changed my perspective a little bit on things, helped me slow down and think. And I was able to have a lot of positive internal growth just consuming cannabis, looking at the world a little bit different of a way, exercising on cannabis, just things from what I was told, I would never be able to do while I was high. So the plant made a pretty powerful impression on me early on in that way. And actually, Boston introduced me to cannabis. So it was kind of interesting to see it come full circle, but it's helped put my life in harmony, if that makes sense.
Give him the story when me and Pops and you were in Colorado.
Yeah. So funny story. November 2018, I moved out to Colorado, as I kind of spoke a little bit about earlier. But Boston, my dad Jess and we were in Denver, and I was moving into town, and we decided, hey, we should go look at a couple dispensaries, and if we're applying for these licenses, it'd be good to plant the seed and see how we're going to lay this thing out. So we went into a dispensary and got 100 milligram Keef Cola.
Mind you, Pops is 65 at this point and has never touched cannabis in his whole life. Very conservative upbringing.
Yeah. And so we leave the store, crack the cola right before dinner, and my dad does everything full speed, full throttle, 100%. So there's 100 milligrams in this little drink, and he just slugs it back and probably takes 30 or 35 before Boston can snatch it away from him. So anyway, we finish the rest of it off and go to a nice sit-down spot for dinner. And about 30 minutes into dinner, he says, let me tell you what, bud, this shit doesn't work on me. So, hey, Pop. Yeah.
That is the dad answer. I swear.
Yeah.
It's not working.
So anyway, about 15 minutes after that, we get our dinner. He takes a handful of bites and says, "Oh, you got to get me back to the hotel." So we go back to the hotel, and it's about 9 o'clock at night, and he lays down and falls asleep. My dad had a really bad car injury when he was about 32 years old and broke his back in 3 places. So, back in the 80s, surgery wasn't quite as advanced as it was today. And, they just put a titanium rod in his back. So he'd really never had a full night's sleep for 30 years until that point. So the next morning he woke up at 8 o'clock and he got up and saw it was light outside and thought he was dreaming. He couldn't believe that he slept through the night. And so after that, it really changed his opinion on cannabis and it not being a clandestine drug that is for criminals, but is something that can improve people's lives every day. So seeing that firsthand, it was really special to have my dad get relief from something that we were passionate about as well. So.
It's crazy to see the impact. So my dad and mom both, kids in the late 60s, early 70s and stuff like that. They grew up with weed. Like, I got in trouble in kindergarten for taking my keychain collection to class for show and tell because one of my keychains had a big maple leaf on it that was engraved with the word chong that my mom had made in high school, like in shop class. It wasn't a maple leaf. It was a pot leaf. I didn't know that. I was in kindergarten. My dad, grew out at his mom's house and stuff like that. And I've told a fun story about the local sheriff coming to grandma's house whenever dad was in the military because there was a large plant growing outside that she wasn't aware of. But they grew up with it. And fast forward, 30, 40 years, and they haven't touched it in years. They haven't, it's not what it used to be and stuff like that. Well, I've gotten both of them to try topicals over the last couple years, and just the way that topicals immediately changed their opinion on marijuana and cannabis, because all they had ever done, I mean, they were teenagers and in their early 20s. They didn't have a whole lot of stress. They didn't have, a whole lot of aches and pains and broken bones and stuff, and hadn't beaten themselves into the ground for 40 years yet. So it really only served to get them high back then because they weren't treating anything else with it. But fast forward now, and the first time they put topicals on, it immediately changed their opinion because they were like, oh, like this is literally medicine. This isn't what I thought it was. And even me being in the industry for a few years and telling them things and stuff like that, it wasn't until they had that first experience. And I love that so many people in cannabis, whether it's their personal experience or it's the person next to them, the lightning bolt moment for them is all about the medical application of it. And that's one of the things that we've seen a big push recently to get back to the medical roots and things like that. I think you guys are one of the companies that has continued to drive medical focus while expanding everything. And we don't have to talk a whole lot about it, but we recently ran an article on Greenway about some things that you guys have been doing in partnership with Feel State for the last couple years to help out a few families with FECO and in order to be able to manage their cancer symptoms and things like that. FECO is not a very high profit margin product. We've talked to other companies like Heartland and Maddie from Heartland. There's a lot of products that are medical that you're not making margins on. They're not driving sales. They're not cost modifiers or anything like that. They're not last minute add-ons at the checkout stand. But you guys are one of the companies that has continued to drive and balance that focus on the medical products that aren't necessarily, high commodities. They're just there for certain people, really. And was that a decision a strategic decision? How did you guys decide to maintain that focus on medical as you're trying to build and keep up with everybody else in an adult use market?
Yeah, I'll pass it to Boston here in a sec so he can elaborate. But it's really the foundation on what we do, right? We started here with a medical license. We were, our dad is a patient, so it's kind of ingrained into the foundation of our company.
Yeah, and as far as partnering with Feel State to deliver some remedy to these families who are going through tremendous amounts of pain, I mean, have things that cannabis can help. I hope we get to a society one day where insurance can start coming in on these things, where Medicaid, Medicare can start covering a lot of these ailments, because there are truly so many out there right now that would be much better off using full extract cannabis oil than the list of however many pharmaceuticals they're being prescribed right now. So I think part of that is rooted in the pharmacy background. So our mom's a pharmacist, Leanne. She ran a independent pharmacy, local pharmacy in Harrisonville, Missouri for 20 some odd years, almost 30 years, and worked at various pharmacies before that. And just hearing her story and hearing her talk, and Tony and her and I went into this in a lot of detail on the Taste Your Own Medicine campaign. But the uptick in opioids from 1990, when she started prescribing, to 2020, it's exponential. I mean, it's like you look at Apple's stock chart and it's greater than that. It's crazy. So, a 10,000% increase in opioids prescribed over a 30-year period makes us feel like we have some sort of civic duty to flip the script and change the narrative a little bit. And I think the more that we can help patients understand that cannabis is an alternative to these debilitating pharmaceuticals that they're taking, the better we're doing for society and the better I sleep at night.
Absolutely. And so, I know we only have you guys for a couple more minutes, but you're doing all of this in Missouri, but now you're expanding out to Kentucky. Do you want to talk about that for a sec?
Yeah. Yeah, we're really excited to be going to the Bluegrass State.
Yeah.
Here, hopefully by end of year, we'll have operations open. But currently, our footprint, we're acting as a manager. So we set up a management company in Kentucky to where we're helping folks manage. We've got 2 cultivation facilities, a manufacturing facility, and then 3 dispensaries currently. And Kentucky is medical only right now, so we'll come to market largely with the same product offering that we came with here, with the addition of flower. I think that's one of the biggest lessons we learned, and one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. When we entered the industry here, we'd never cultivated at scale or been in that side of the market, but obviously wish we would have had that cultivation license earlier to be able to produce, get to market, innovate with different things, and just learn the process better. But in Kentucky, we've made the decision to start with cultivation, and I think that'll be great for us. And hopefully we can start to bring quality medicine to the Bluegrass State by December, January of this year.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir. So we're actually partnering. We want to keep the brands as authentic as possible. I believe a big reason why Missouri Zone works here is because we are Missouri Zone. We're from Missouri, born and bred. So we're working with a couple of those groups who own the licenses in Kentucky right now to make Kentucky Zone in conjunction with the local Kentucky guys. Yeah. So we're really excited about it.
That's awesome.
So will I be able to drive to Kentucky and get Red Hot Riplets?
Potentially.
Hells yeah.
So one of the...
I'll go to Louisville a lot for Red Hot Riplets, man.
Heck yeah. So Kentucky is only medical right now, but they are a reciprocal state. So they're going to allow reciprocity. If you have a Missouri med card that has one of the qualifying conditions for Kentucky that you qualified under, you can go in and shop in Kentucky with that Missouri medical marijuana card.
Does Kentucky have any of the like product restrictions or product milligram restrictions that we've seen in a lot of other states as medical markets open up? And if so, how are you guys dealing with that?
Yeah, there are a couple of regulations that are a bit different than here in Missouri. I believe oil and concentrates have a cap of, is it 70%, 70% THC. And flour is non-combustible down there. So we aren't able to sell any pre-rolls. The flour, when it's sold, is meant to vaporize, not combust from the store level, much like Ohio in that respect. And then I think it's just, again, showing these regulators that we're not the boogeyman, going down, talking to city council, letting people understand our background and where we came from to work with these regulators to develop an industry that is thriving in Kentucky like it is here in Missouri.
I know you have just a minute, but because of the market that you're going into and because of how active you guys have been here in Missouri, and one of the big things that we've talked about a few different times in Missouri over the last year is the hemp market. Kentucky's hemp market has been hugely successful, and one of the main reasons that medical was able to get passed in Kentucky was because of how successful the hemp market had been down there, and it started to change opinions about cannabis as a plant overall. Do you guys see that as much of an obstacle in Kentucky, or do you see that as something that's going to change down there in the way that we've seen it change in other states over the last few years?
Yeah, this is a hot topic right now. And look, I think hemp is bigger than people think all over the country. I think bigger than you think in Missouri, bigger on the East Coast, bigger on the West Coast, and obviously big in Kentucky. But one of the beneficial things about the hemp market, I think, is it's allowing us to get cannabis into hands that maybe don't have access quite as easy. So it's hopefully rising tide lifts all ships here, and we're getting net new consumers into the market. But back to my point about consumer sentiment and that being what's driving innovation, we've taken a couple plays from the hemp market, just new products and SKUs that they're coming out with, because obviously the consumers like it, and it's translating to big revenue for a lot of these brands. So I think not being so shaded, I guess, or jaded towards the hemp market is what we're looking to do. But I think the overall regulation has to change in that market. The biggest problem in my eyes isn't that they're selling THCA over the counter. It's that they have no regulatory body and they're not paying the same amount of taxes. It's just an uneven playing field right now. And I believe something will have to shake out or happen over the next couple of years to address that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest thing a lot of times is inconsistency, just because it creates safety gaps. Missouri right now is, as much as I love the hemp market, Missouri's not a great place as far as my feelings towards hemp, because it's 100% legal from my 8-year-old to go in and purchase products. Now, a lot of places would never sell to her, but they would absolutely sell to my 6'3", 15-year-old without batting an eye. And so the best thing for cannabis as a whole, whether it's hemp or marijuana, is to be safely regulated, because that's what dispels all the stigma. That's what removes all the boogeyman stereotypes, is showing all the positives and removing as many negatives as possible. And the more we have responsible, reliable, pro-business regulation, the better everybody winds up being.
Well, I know we're at time, gentlemen, but I wanted to thank you both for joining us. And thank you personally for supporting me and all my stuff and supporting this podcast. I mean, you guys were one of the first to jump on board and support us. So we thank you more than you can understand.
Happy to be on here, guys, and thanks a lot for having us.
Absolutely.
Working with y'all over the past several years, and look forward to many more.
Heck yeah. Last question we have to ask all of our guests. What are you listening to right now, Montana?
a friend convinced me to run a half marathon with him in October. So I've been listening to like a lot of like kind of pump me up rap sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So right now I'm on a little baby kick for those long runs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Perfect.
But no, thank you guys for having us. Shout
Absolutely.
out to Greenway. Shout out to MJ Unpacked and the
That's
crew
right.
here. Looking
That's
forward
right.
to a great week at the convention. So
Heck yeah. Thanks, Montana. Boston, what are you listening to?
I just got put on to a new country band a couple weeks ago that's called Treaty Oak Revival. So
Okay.
my long car rides between calls, put a little Treaty Oak Revival on and
Yeah.
slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys very much.